I think it's important for a game to do something unique and something new, especially with the ball travel, because it piques your curiosity. You want to look at a shot and go, how does the ball get to that area? And to watch that magic happen is just something special.
No way.
I've loved X-Men my whole life. I was obsessed with it. I had the shirts, I had the curtains on my windows, bed sheets, you name it, and what better theme for me to be associated with than this thing that I absolutely love.
I've pretty much have every X-Men title probably from 92 to 97. It's like 4 giant bins worth of comics.
Nobody doesn't like the X-Men. Anyone who says they don't like the X-Men are liars.
So the story this is based off of is Days of Future Past. It's all about how Sentinels have taken over the world. Humans, mutants alike, everyone's in danger. The world's just in complete disarray. And it's such a cool story about like how little things you do in the past can affect the future, and being able to go back and change that was such a cool idea for a pinball machine that we had to run with it.
And the player can choose how far they're willing to go down that path and how much they're either try to save the future or completely stop the future from even existing.
I knew going into this that I wanted this playfield to be unique. Much like with my previous titles, I try to introduce something a little different. With X-Men, it was no exception. I just completely broke as many rules as I could. I offset the flippers to like change the Italian bottom there.
The Danger Room takes up a large portion of the bottom of the playfield.
So the Danger Room, there's been some talk about where that name came from. If you're familiar with the X-Men, you'll know that's their training facility. But if you're not familiar with the X-Men, it's named after me.
Ending up in the Danger Room is exactly what it sounds like. It is a dangerous place to be.
You shrunk like the outlanes or something to make room for the Danger Room, so it's the most unique playfield I've worked on since being at Stern.
That is a very high risk, very high reward area. It's not hard to get out of it, but if you want to spend some time in there, you are risking your ball's longevity.
We definitely had to get creative with the packaging of how everything is tucked in on the bottom side of the playfield on the lower third, especially when there's a pop bumper, there's a slingshot, there's an up post.
When you shoot up the Danger Room ramp, the Cerebro lock holds the ball at the end of the wire form, and it looks like a magnet's doing it or it's just floating there.
There's actually a modified flipper mech on the bottom side of the playfield with a small lever that holds the ball there, and it really is hidden in plain sight.
So in trying to make this game unique and fun, I obviously went with a very strange layout. There's no orbit, there's 7 ramps on this game, no outlanes.
You never know where the ball might come out of.
We have a Kitty Pryde shot, which is actually a sneak-in shot. You can't shoot on purpose. It goes behind everything and just pops back out the same way Kitty Pryde would use her powers. And instead of using your typical 3 pop-upper cluster or nest, I actually separated them, one just above the left flipper and one on the right side of the cabinet, for maximum chaos on this game for when you maybe miss a shot or if it's rolling back.
Probably the most prominent crossover shot is from the X-Jet up the mansion ramp, which then takes the ball behind the flippers and ultimately into the Danger Room. It really is a journey through the world of the X-Men. Dialing in the crossover shots took a lot of iteration, took a lot of experimentation.
So making something weird for weird's sake obviously doesn't go very far. It just sort of happened that a lot of these shots, you know, horseshoe shots that go up backwards ramps or cross field shots, it's just strange stuff that you probably haven't seen before. And weird works if it's also fun, and this game turned out a lot of fun. So leaning heavily on the cool concepts of the X-Men, it really helped shape the idea of what we wanted to be the main features in this game. Thinking on the mechs and the toys in this game, if I was going to spend time on a toy, I needed it to be interactive.
So the Sentinels are an ever-present threat. They will come out and they will attack you when you least expect them. So when the giant Sentinel appears, it's combating you.
So the Sentinel is a great example of an awesome sculpted head, comes out of the playfield, you break its jaw away, it's shooting the ball back at you through the kicking target.
So the Sentinel went through a few different iterations, packing in a couple of coils and some lights and even a motor into a fairly tiny space was a bit of a challenge. And there are two hands coming out of the playfield as well. One that can catch the ball with the finger and flick it backwards up a ramp.
It's got articulated fingers to stop the ball and like divert it into a place where it's gonna hold the balls for a lock.
And then the left hand can actually destroy one of the wire ramps and cause the ball to careen back towards your flippers with some danger involved. The braking ramp hand is actually fairly true to the original design. The idea was to make a ramp that could open up and divert the ball, and the hand kind of just goes along for the ride with the ramp.
The way it does it is it holds down on like this V-cam, so the ramp actually comes up and down.
Early on, the Sentinel was not cooperative and would pretty frequently throw balls out of the playfield. So we had to tame the Sentinel a little bit and make sure that it did what we wanted it to.
So if you're gonna have a Marvel game, who better than Zombie Yeti to do the art on it?
Well, yeah, obviously. I grew up reading X-Men. With this one, I said, you know, I'm going all in. Let's just make this like a comic book page. Like this is just telling a giant story. Initially, I set out to try to figure out how do I make the future and the past coexist in the art?
So if you look at the cabinet, on the right side, it's the past, Wolverine and Kitty Pryde in their X-Men costumes. But on the left side of this is a very bleak, haggard-looking Wolverine with Kitty Pryde looking much older, with everything just absolutely destroyed in the background.
Because we were mixing up all of these characters from different eras, I wanted to leave a little bit of a mark.
It is those characters from the comic books, but you can tell it's his own little twist on it, but it is exactly who that character is.
As soon as I got done with the playfield, they did ask me to come in and do some character work that they could use in the LCD.
So we have all custom animation in this game. Zach Stark led the LCD animation team on this journey of creating all of this original content for our story.
I think originally we were trying to match like the 90s Saturday morning cartoonish look and like the comic look. Once we saw Jeremy's cabinet art and the playfield art, we decided we're gonna match that style, we're gonna animate that. What we try to do just to be consistent with the other Marvel games that we make is, it's called an animatic. It's a moving comic book essentially, just a character sort of moving across the screen with lots of motion lines and effects behind them. So yeah, we've mastered the art of this.
So main play in this game is in the past, the 80s, and we needed a music that sounded accurate to that era, and Charlie Benante absolutely knocked it out of the park with the different styles that you would have heard in that time.
There's definitely an Anthrax or a thrash metal feel to some of these songs.
We have so many different styles that he created that are used in the different modes.
So we have 80s style metal, an 80s style rock, an 80s style new wave, and 80s style industrial music. In the future, it's a little bit more post-apocalyptic. It's a twisted version of the past, and the music reflects that.
Me and my partner Andy, we kind of talked about it. I think he went more dance-oriented. I was like, yeah, this feels right. That way to go. With the pinball game, the songs are driving you to play harder. Once you start playing it, a song kicks in and you forget you're playing the game because you're so into the music and you're just going with the flow.
Jerry Thompson did a lot of the sound effects.
Whatever you're seeing when you're playing the game, you should also hear, and to me that feels right. There are some iconic sounds for each character that people know and love, and so I wanted those characters to obviously have that same kind of sound. So, like for instance, the card throwing from Gambit or the energy from Bishop. I take well over 100 videos that come to me with no sound, and then it's my job to make them exciting and either put sounds that match the action or award fanfare sounds or any other thing it needs to make it feel like a solid, cohesive package. So on the playfield, you have different areas you're traveling in. And so this is downtown, you've got the subway, you've got the city. So obviously when you go through those areas, I want that to translate audio-wise.
The production line is like, goes back to the days when you would see footage of like Detroit making cars, you know what I mean? That's the way I look at these pinball machines. It's like there's so many moving parts to making these games, and once you see it go down, you appreciate it so much more.
If you want something new, if you want something that you haven't experienced before, this is where this game fills that niche.
This is one of the most unique layouts I've ever seen, and it's incredible. It's awesome.
The mechs are fun, interactive, and really help tell the story of the game.
This game is not like anything you've played before. I hate to be hyperbolic, but it literally looks 10 times better than what I imagined putting it together.
I think it's just going to absolutely blow you away the first time and every time you play this game. Familiar with Cerebro, so the guy in the thing. Okay, so it's going to show you the thing. What the am I even trying to say? So just under the Sentinel's head is Magneto, who will manipulate. Okay.